Hello, and welcome to the 741 channel. Today, we're going to take a look at this old Johnson Viking 4740 CB radio. So here it is, the Viking 4740. Too bad that zero's not a 1. So back in the day, and kind of even now, these radios had, I guess, love it or hate it styling. It's really quite plain compared to some of the radios that were out at the same time as this radio. Now I think what Viking tried to do is they tried to bring their styling over from the ham radio line and make the CB radio kind of look similar to that with the matte black and, you know, not too much chrome on here. Whereas other radios of the day would have had more chrome or brushed nickel type finishes, that kind of a thing. All these knobs are just thick sort of aluminum with nice knurling on it. You probably can't see it because of the camera angle, but they're really just thick and heavy. The controls work well. Everything is real tight. Nothing's loose here. A lot of the radios of the day had plastic plated knobs, that kind of a thing. So they just felt a little cheesier than what this does now. Now the switches have plastic knobs on them, but even these just feel like they work real well. This one's maybe a little sticky from age, but just a real well-built radio is what you would expect from Viking. So as you've probably already noticed, this is a sideband radio, and you can switch it between lower sideband, AM, and upper sideband here. There's a noise blanker here, which isn't going to do much in the shack. There's a PA function, which most mobile radios had at the time. Now we've got a squelch control here, but this has a dual function. If I pull it out, you can see it dims the radio. This over here, of course, is the volume and on-off switch. We've got a fine-tuning or sort of clarifier control, and this has a nice positive detent right in the middle so you know when you're on center. And it's got an RF gain control over here. Now the meter over here is pretty much the same size as you would find on mobile rigs of the time, but this one's just maybe a little strange because down here on the lower end of the meter, it's actually sunk in to the radio, and then over here up at the top of the range it's sort of parallel with the face of the radio. Most of these meters, I thought, from back in the day were kind of set up so that the middle of the meter was sort of at the parallel point to the plastic and both ends were in, but this one's just a little bit different. Doesn't seem to affect the readability at all. And it is, of course, a 40-channel radio, and despite its age, all the LED segments seem to work just fine. This radio probably has low hours on it. And then really the only ornamental thing about this whole radio is that Viking logo up in the corner. So taking a look at the back of the radio, the first thing that I noticed is that this thing has a real thick, heavy one-piece cover. Most of the radios from this era had two-piece covers with screws along the sides. This one's all one piece, and it's got just 4 screws on the back holding the chassis of the radio in. Now starting over here, you can see we've got what remains of the power cord. I don't know if this is original or not, but probably is. Down here we have the PA speaker jack and an external speaker jack. Over here, of course, is the SO239 antenna input jack. Taking a look at the nameplate, you can see here it's a Johnson Viking 4740. There's a bunch of specs about the radio over here. Made by the E.F. Johnson Company from Waseca, Minnesota, and made in Japan. And lastly, we have the microphone jack. And I'm not a fan of where this is positioned on the radio or how it was kind of designed. Now, first off, being on the back of the radio, that makes it real cumbersome. You have to plug your microphone in back here and then pull the cord sort of to the front of the radio when you want to use it. That makes it cumbersome even on the bench, but more so in a mobile installation. The other thing I don't care for about this microphone jack is that it's electrically isolated from the chassis of the radio. Now that in itself isn't a huge deal, but the fact that it needs to be electrically isolated, Johnson used plastic screws to hold it into the radio, and one of them is broken and the head is missing, so mine's loose. So now that we've taken an overview of the radio, let's put an antenna on here and see what we can hear. Now first we'll check out AM, and then after that we'll get some sideband action going.
You know, I didn't have to. I mean, it was simply the bike. The bike was I paid my insurance, I paid for everything. It cost me $24 a month. You just paid outright. It only cost me $114 to register my bike. You know, register, insure, and all that. No, I like paying for it monthly just in case, or every other month, because I wasn't sure if I was going to keep the bike.
I don't know, he's kind of like the John Wayne of our time, right? Because I can remember, you know, like my grandfather going, oh yeah, nothing beats watching the Duke, you know? So I don't know. But, you know, I'm sure he was awesome in his time, and I've seen some of his movies, and he was a grand dude. But, you know, I don't know. For our time, it's kind of like Clint Eastwood is kind of like, taking the place of John Wayne.
But you got to compare him to Steve McQueen and Paul Newman and Charles Bronson. They're all in there, dude.
Steve McQueen died way too early.
So I really like the way this radio sounds on receive. Now, of course, it's a really nice quiet night on the band, so we were able to hear a few local stations coming through nice and strong. Now, you guys may have noticed, though, that the needle on the radio really wasn't moving too much. It was only moving a little bit on the strongest signals. So, not sure if it's a little bit sticky or it just needs to be adjusted. So now that we've listened to the receiver, let's check out the transmitter and see what that's doing. So first, let's see what we get for a dead key on AM. Looks like we're right around 7 watts. So the meter is in peak mode, and if I do some talking here directly into the microphone, you can see that we're swinging up to maybe about 15 watts or so on voice peaks. Okay, so now we'll try lower sideband. Again, the meter is in peak mode, and on voice peaks, I'm getting up to 20 watts, maybe even a little bit more. So what I'm going to do now is fire up the SDR play over on the computer, and we'll record some transmit audio so that we can hear and see kind of what's going on with this radio. Get an idea of what maybe needs to be tweaked in it. So first up, let's check the Motorola 4740 on AM. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Motorola 4740 audio test on AM. So I can see the computer monitor from where I'm sitting, and it looked like the carrier frequency was a little bit off where it should be. So before we switch over to sideband, I want to test something out. So now what we're going to do is test to see whether the clarifier on this Motorola is unlocked. So as I talk, I'm going to turn the clarifier and keep an eye on the computer across the room, and I can see that that carrier is moving around. So that means that somebody was in here at some point and unlocked the clarifier on this radio. And it looks like at the center position on the clarifier, it may be off just a little bit. If I turn it right there, just a little off center, looks like it's a little closer to being on frequency. So for whatever reason, up to this point in the video, I've been calling this thing a Motorola. I don't know why. Freudian slip or something. Anyway, let's carry on with the lower sideband test.
So here's a test of the EF Johnson 4740 on lower sideband. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Testing the EF Johnson on lower sideband.
Now there really shouldn't be a difference between upper and lower sideband, but while we're here, we'll check upper sideband. This is a test of the 4740 on upper sideband. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. 4740 upper sideband test.
I didn't really spend too much time looking inside that thing. What are you getting out of it for peak wattage?
Let's see. I think it's dead keying right around 7, and it'll go, I don't know, somewhere around 16, 17 on peaks.
No fooling. Yeah, it's kind of a high dead key. Yeah, where are you getting sideband from it?
Somewhere around 20 on peaks.
Yeah, there might be something you could do about the AM audio. I think it could be made louder.
I'll mess around with it and see what I can do. I like the receiver on this radio a lot. Sounds good. I was listening to the guys on 39 earlier.
Oh yeah, that's that old crystal filter.
So I want to break in and see if these guys will give me some kind of a radio check here.
Don't hear you.
Yeah, okay. I'm testing out this real old radio here. Not sure how well it's working.
Sounds good. Clean audio. Giving me, well, I can't give you a real, thing because the meter's not adjusted, but good audio.
Yeah, no worries. Thanks. The meter on this radio is not working. This is an old Johnson 4740. I got to pull it apart, go through it, check it out. I just fired it up to see if it would work. You got 741 here, by the way, 741.
10-4 and 741, 373, Wellington.
So what do you guys think about this old Viking 4740? Do you think it's a cool old radio, or would you rather have something new? Let me know it down in the comments. In an upcoming video, I plan to fix the few little problems with this radio and try and get it tuned up, so stay tuned for that. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up. If you'd like to learn more about my channel, you can check the description below for more information. Thanks for watching.